You're doing creativity wrong, and here's why. Let's get this clear. I don't think there's a right way to be creative. I agree with the fact that everyone has their own creative workings and ways of doing creative tasks. However, I do believe there is always a better way of doing things. And it wasn't until reading this book by the producer Rubin that helped me understand what I was doing wrong, how I could do it better, and how you can too. Let's get started. The abundant mindset. If we live in a mindset of scarcity, we hoard great ideas. As artists, it's often we hold back our own great ideas. We're finally on the brim of creating something unique and good, but we're scared to release it. Because if we do, how could we ever possibly top that? We don't view our own creative funnel as a place of abundance. Abundance meaning there will always be another good idea. So one of the things Rubin suggests is to not compare your previous and past work. Since art has subjective elements, it's pointless to compare what you made yesterday with what you make tomorrow. They will both have their own strengths and weaknesses, and it's pointless to compare apples to oranges. Learn to operate from a place of abundance, and you'll realize that creativity is an endless well of ever-flowing ideas. And there will always be a new and better idea. Clean slate. The ability to create as an artist and experience the work as a first-time viewer, dropping baggage from the past of what you wanted the work to be. One of the most important concepts that I try to apply in my own work is to operate from a clean slate. I do this especially in photography, where I'd go out and take pictures and pretend to forget everything I know. In Rubin's eyes, it's often we spend too much time with our art that it causes this sort of art blindness. We become desensitized to our own work because we just spend so much time around it. But it's often that beginners have this sort of unfiltered or untamed viewpoint of the creative process because they're so fresh and they're not yet bound by these technical aspects or skills of how things should be done. Rather, they operate from a place of innocence and a clean slate. But when you're in the thick of it and you're so immersed in your own art, it's often difficult to see your art from an objective point of view or a clean slate, and it's difficult to distinguish blue from green. When this occurs, it's important to take a step back from your own work. Meditate, go on walks, do something else, and you'll find that oftentimes these creative problems solve themselves. Tuning out undermining voices. To prevent external pressures from entering our inner process and interfering with the pure creative state. Any creative field faces a volume of judgment, whether it's your friends or family telling you how you should do this or what you should do, or it's your fellow peers and artists who are telling you what will work and what won't work. Sometimes the most important things for us to do is to filter all of that out, ignore these undermining voices, and just get to work. The idea behind this is that these voices are irrelevant. They're irrelevant to the art, they're irrelevant to the process, and they're irrelevant to the most important things, doing and improving. So these voices will almost always certainly exist. You're not going to eliminate these voices around you, and so learning how to tune out these voices might actually be our greatest advantage. Temporary rules. As artists, we get to create a new set of rules each and every time we play. Innovation exists only within those rules. One of the ideas Rubin suggests to try in our own creative work is the idea of temporary rules. Rules in general exist everywhere and they guide the creative process. If they didn't exist, we wouldn't have terms like thinking outside of the box or breaking the rules or whatever. In photography, for example, you'll often find that shooters will take only one body and one lens out when going on a photo shoot to intentionally force themselves to be more creative, sacrificing versatility for creativity. So more than just realizing that rules exist, it's important to sometimes create temporary rules around your own creative process to force yourself to be more creative. This allows us to break our own bad habits and preconceived notions of what we think is possible. The prism of self. We inhabit many different versions of a changing self. The suggestion to be yourself may be too general to be of much use. This concept itself is quite interesting because Rubin describes how often we are encouraged to be ourselves. But the you today and the you yesterday and the you tomorrow will all be different people. And so it's important to understand this and accept this prism-like nature where we are ever changing, ever flowing as human beings. In my own interpretation, this means accepting the fact that we are multivariate beings. We're not going to be the same person we were yesterday as we are tomorrow, and learning to understand and accept this fact will allow us to not strongly identify with who we are today. If we too strongly identify with who we are today, then what we create tomorrow might come into conflict with what we created yesterday. To get past this, I've learned to accept this momentary nature of art, understanding from the fact or idea that what I created yesterday is going to be different than what I create tomorrow, and knowing that they are good for different reasons. It's not a better or worse thing, just like in the first example of apples to oranges. It's just different because now my preferences are different, What I like are different, and what I've learned has changed over the days. This is a more freeing mode of operation because it allows us to create from multiple angles or perspectives. We are no longer bound to this one sense or form of identity because we have accepted the idea that we are going to be different. And so we can free ourselves from the concepts of what we think our art has to be like. So these were all things that I've once struggled with. But now that I can take them into account and I have them in the back of my head, I now can operate and approach my creativity with a better way of thinking about these things. And hopefully these concepts can help you in your work as well. Like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Bye.